And what Jesus is showing us here, or me here, I truly believe, is that every time there was a crowd, he was in danger of being crushed. And it wasn't because he was doing bad things, it's because he was doing good things. And so what Jesus was showing his disciples before they could ever comprehend it is you've got to develop some boundaries or you're going to get buried. You've got to develop some boundaries in your life to see where they end and you begin. You've got to be able to say no sometimes and go out just a little bit further. You've got to be able to tell the crowd sometimes, not today, I got a lot on my plate. You've got to be able to have some boundaries where you're focusing on your healing and your wholeness, and you have to know when you are bone dry and you need to be fed and you need to be led by the Lord. Because we can't have anything to give if we're letting the crowd crush us and if we're letting the crowd drown us. If I have boundaries down, if I don't have boundaries up in my life, then I'm going to get run down. If my boundaries are down and I just let everything in without prayer, without contemplation, I try to help everybody and do everything, what is going to happen is if my boundaries are down, I'm going to get run down. But if I have a place to go where the crowd can't follow, if I found a place where I can connect with God and his peace, then what I can do is live an empowered life. And an empowered life doesn't begin with being connected to people. An empowered life begins with being connected with God, connected to God, so we can be better connected to people. I like to look at it a lot this way. Jesus said, have a boat ready for me, lest they crush you. For he had done so many good things. He had healed so many. And so that all who had diseases pressed around him to touch him. And maybe that's a work Jesus could have done, but his disciples couldn't bear the weight under that. But as you begin to go and grow, you can take on more because you've learned to live more in the lifeboat. And what you do in the lifeboat is you get fueled and you get filled and you have that life of God flowing in you. And you're connected to the life source, and you're connected to calling, and you're connected to purpose, and you're connected to what God is doing in your life. And you're able to hear his voice where the dreams, visions, and desires are coming from him, and it's not the crowd drowning it out. It's not the crowd crushing you in a way where you can't be the person that God has called you to be. And a life that is empowered is connected to God, but also a life that is connected to other people. But in order to be connected with other people, we've got to have a life flowing in us that is eternal, that has no end to it. It's a source, like Jesus said, the bread of life, the water of life. It never runs dry. And you have that life flowing in you and filling you, and what life becomes is an overflow of that filling. And why don't we overflow? It's because we become overburdened. And what we're a lot like is we're a lot like this. Rick's like, don't ever touch any of my cords. Brother, I got that thing all wound up right. The Holy Spirit won't be here unless this thing's perfect. This is a wire. It's a conduit for electricity, but it isn't the source. If that wire isn't connected to an electrical source, there's nothing flowing through it. And what are you? You're not electricity, you're a wire to carry electricity. And when you get disconnected, or you feel like you're the one that's got to produce it all, what happens is you become run down. You become a God to other people instead of letting God be a God to you and letting that life come out of you, that same love that Jesus Christ has for you, that same presence, that same feeling, that same comfort, that same hope. You're like a stream. You're not the fountain. You're not the place where the water comes from. You are a channel. You're not the reservoir. You're a channel, and that life just flows through us, crushed by the crowd.